All right, good morning, everybody. It is Jay again, and we all like nice things. So fruit trees should be no exception. So why not add some beauty to your food forest at the same time that you're feeding yourself? So what is the subject of today's video? So the subject of today's video is 10 flowering trees that everyone should have in their yard that also will produce fruit. Now, these plants that I'm going to be going over are also happen to be all tier 1 trees, which happen to be the strongest trees. So don't be afraid to plant some of these beautiful flowering trees that also provide fruit in your yard here in Arizona, because these are all well-known producers and these will flower like this every year for you. So we're going to start right here with this one that I'm on right now because we're here. And I'm going to show you what this one looks like. So this is number 1 on the list. Look at the beautiful flowers on this tree. So these are white, and this happens to be a cotton candy Aprium. So cotton candy Aprium happens to be a delicious fruit. It is a cross between an apricot and a plum, and it is white and sweet and juicy. And look at the flowers that this tree provides you. Let me see if I can back up here just a little bit. Now, this is a little guy. This isn't a very big tree. You can see that he's not that tall. He's roughly 4 foot tall in the pot, and you can see that he is flowering even at a very young age and looks beautiful. And the bees, I tell you what, the bees are definitely visiting the yard today. So why not add some beauty, guys? You want to talk about somebody driving by your house and slamming on the brakes when they see your yard because you've got some beauty in there? So why not add some of these? So look at this one. This is a beautiful, beautiful plant to have. Imagine having this in your front yard where people could actually see it. So number 1 on the list, cotton candy Aprium, cross between an apricot and a plum, and has an apricot type bloom. All right, number 2 on the list, Dos Equis. Number 2 is going to be the Flavor Delight Aprium. And the Flavor Delight Aprium is a different cultivar of an Aprium. It is also a cross between an apricot and a plum. And the Flavor Delight is a little bit more like a traditional apricot. It is going to be yellowish orange, extremely juicy, and really tough for the valley. So this is also a tier 1 tree and a flowering and fruiting tree. This is the Flavor Delight Aprium. This is also one in a pot so that I can show you guys that they do indeed fruit in pots. So if you guys want to do container culture, you will still get some blooms, but I'm going to show you a big one of these that I have in the ground that is also starting to wake up and bloom. Okay, so this is a Flavor Delight Aprium in the ground, and this is a larger tree. This is planted back by my fence row. This gets full sun. So you can kind of see the body's down here in a little bit of shade, but as you crown the top here, you start to get into more of the full sun, and you can see that he is just now starting to light up with his blooms for the year. This one is going to be completely covered with those white blossoms that I showed you on the first tree there. This will be completely coated with those white blooms. It's hard to get all the trees lined up exactly on one video with their bloom timing because some things bloom a little bit early, some things bloom just slightly later, but this is a good time to catch the majority of them so that you guys can see what they look like in all of their glory. So this is a Flavor Delight Aprium, and this one's quite tall. I mean, the fence here is 8 foot, so the majority of the tree is above that point and above me, and you can kind of see it's forming a sort of a tunnel here with the star fruit, and they've sort of connected here up at the top. So you've got the beauty of the star fruit right next to the blooms of the Aprium. All right, so now we're going to talk about apricots, which are the true fruit there. This is a gold-kissed apricot. And this tree does happen to be planted right along the edge of my property. So when you drive by the property, you can in fact see this one. And this is a huge tree. This is a very large tree. So I'm going to kind of pan back here just a little bit, and I'm going to pan to the left, and you can see that that is a mulberry tree there that has just woken up. That is a Shangri-La mulberry. And then over to the side here, this enormous tree right here is a gold-kissed apricot. And you can see that this has literally thousands of blooms. This tree just gets completely covered to where it looks like it is covered in snow. I'm hoping you guys can see this, because this tree is amazing. And this is one of my older apricots that I've planted. And like I said, this is a gold-kissed. This is the main apricot that I deal with here in the valley. I don't even deal with the Katy anymore, because the Katy seems to be a little too high chill now. So the gold-kissed apricot, as you can see here, is definitely a winner chicken dinner. I mean, this thing is stunning. Out here covered in blooms. Look at these branches, guys. And the crazy part about this is every one of these fruits is going to set. So this tree will have thousands. Look at this. Oh my gosh. That even blows me away. Like, I've pretty much seen it all, but wow. You want to talk about the blooms. This is exceptional. Absolutely exceptional. I hope you guys see this. And this is what you're wanting out of all your flowering trees, especially nice if someone can see them. So you can see that this one is right out here, right by the road. All right, so that's your third one on your list. There is your true apricot, and I would advise for the gold-kissed apricot if you're wanting a bloom set like this. All right, so we're to number 4 on your list, and number 4 on your list is going to be plums. And plums also have a beautiful bloom. They're going to be slightly smaller. They're usually on the white side of things. And this happens to be a Hollywood plum. Let me see if I can pan back here. This is also a larger tree that's planted on my fence row here so people can see it. But let's go up on this one. Oh my gosh, that thing is just loaded with blossoms. Do you guys see this? So the same situation as over there with the apricot, where this tree is absolutely full of blossoms. Oh my gosh, this is amazing. This is amazing. And what's really cool about this particular plum variety, the Hollywood plum, is it has these purple leaves, or these dark, really dark brown purple leaves. So when you get the blooms, the white blooms against them, they just look killer. This tree looks fantastic when it's fully leafed out. It's going to have some of these blooms against it. And so you can see that this is an absolutely stunning tree also, and a very large tree. So people can see the blooms on this one also. So that is number 4 on your list, are plums. This one happens to be a Hollywood plum. This is a good one that I recommend, and I also recommend a couple others. The plums seem to be a little bit on the high chill range, so you definitely want to get a low chill variety like a Santa Rosa, or maybe even a Hollywood plum like this. This produces a plum that's very much like a dark black cherry. Okay, so number 4 is plums. All right, so number 5 on my list here is going to be plumcots. And plumcots are a cross between a plum and an apricot, but they have more plum parentage, so they're a little bit more like a plum. So this beautiful tree, let me see if I can kind of pan back a little bit so you can see the blooms on this one. This tree happens to be a plum parfait, and it is a cross between a plum and an apricot, like I said. It's got sort of a mixed flower, so the flower on these look very much like an apricot and a plum mixed together. They're slightly smaller, but they are white and they are extremely prolific. So you can see that on the tips of every one of these branches is just absolutely loaded full of blooms. And man, they just look so nice out here with the sun shining through them. But man, look at that, just coated with flowers. So this is a plumcot, guys. This is a cross between a plum and an apricot. The blooms are generally white on this one, and it's an extremely prolific plant. It also has apricot-shaped leaves instead of plum-shaped leaves like a plueria would have. So this is the next one on my list, would be a plumcot of some variety, and they typically bloom on the tips of the branches like you see here. All right, so number 6 on the list is going to be the Nectaplum. So sorry I'm throwing a bunch of crosses at you guys today, a bunch of hybrids, but if you look these up, I think your mouth will start watering and you'll probably start to want a few of these, not just for their blooms, but for their fruit. So this is what's called a spicy Nectaplum. This is a cross between a nectarine and a plum. This gets a beautiful flower. This is a double blooming tree, double blossoming tree. So you get 2 sets of petals inside of each flower. And what's nice about these are they start as this sort of hot pink color, and they will eventually turn into a white. Now, what's nice about this also is this plant also has these dark purple, dark brown leaves, whatever you want to call them. So when these bloom, they bloom this hot pink against that purple, and they just look incredible. So this is a Nectaplum. This is the next one on the list. Let me go over here and see if I can show you some of the foliage, because some of these have woken up quite a bit more. So you can see that sort of purplish burgundy growth there as compared to like the green from the tree behind it there. So these have a beautiful foliage, sort of like this magenta color, and then when they get the pink, hot pink blooms on top of this growth, they just look amazing. So this is probably one of my favorites out of the list of trees here, and this is the spicy Nectaplum. Okay, so the next on the list is going to be peaches. And peaches obviously are sort of at the end of their bloom set. In fact, a lot of the peaches have already set fruit. You can see them here. They're already growing into little fruits, so these will be ready to eat here pretty soon. So the peaches bloom pretty much last month. We're sort of here at the end of the peach blooms, but these also have a beautiful pink bloom that turns into a white, and then of course turns into your fruit. And peaches are highly prolific, meaning every single bloom that a peach has is probably going to set into a fruit, and you will be thinning down your peaches. So peaches are definitely on the list. I wish I had one of these that was in full bloom, but they are a little bit far past that, like I said, and they are into their fruit set mode, which, as you can see, almost every single one of these has set into a fruit. Every single one. So we'll be thinning even this very small peach tree in a pot. Now, I've got lots of peach trees in the ground because this is one of my favorite fruits, and tier 1 fruit trees for the valley would be this one. And they come in all different colors and blooms. So this is a galaxy white peach, and this one's probably a little better of an example of the blooms because this one has just a few left. They are also a double blossom or a double flowering, so they've also got that beautiful bloom inside. So you can see a little bit on this peach tree as it's waking up here what its blooms and blossoms are going to look like. Very beautiful trees, peaches are. Okay, so that is peaches, and definitely a tier 1 tree. Okay, so the next on my list is going to be nectarines, and nectarines are almost the exact same as far as peaches go, as far as what their blooms look like, and they also bloom a little bit early. So you can see we're at the last of our blooms on the nectarines, and you can see that they've already started to set little fruits. And it's going to be the same situation on a nectarine as it is a peach, where probably every single blossom is going to set into a fruit, and you will be thinning down your nectarine also. In fact, some of these are already gaining some size to them. So we'll be eating these nectarines pretty soon too. So that is the next one on my list is the nectarine trees, because they bloom the same time as peaches and they have the exact same bloom. All right, almost done here, guys. We are at number 9. And number 9 is going to be apple trees. And not that many people know that apples do so well here in the valley, but apples are also in the tier 1 group of fruit trees, strong fruit trees. And you can also see that they are also a very beautiful tree, especially when they get their blooms. I mean, this thing is just incredible out here. Let me see if I can back up a little bit. It's hard to get the whole tree, but you can see he's got some beautiful blossoms. The bees are also out here going crazy. And this would be another beautiful flowering tree that you could have in your yard that would also provide fruit for you. So yeah, these just get covered with blooms. And it's going to be the same situation with apples. You're going to be thinning them because more than likely every flower is going to set a fruit. So number 9 on my list is apples. This happens to be a golden Dorset apple, which is one of the apples I recommend for the valley. Also recommend Einsheimer, also recommend Ghost, also recommend Anna. Those are all very, very, very good cultivars as far as desert apple trees go, if you're wanting beautiful blooms like this, and if you're also wanting the fruit. So number 9 on my list is going to be apples. All right, guys, we've arrived at number 10. We're at the last on this list, which is going to be pear trees. And pear trees also have a beautiful bloom, a stunning blossom. And it's going to be very much like an apple blossom. And you know what's funny about pears is this is probably your ultimate tier 1 tree as far as your strength of fruit trees in the valley. And nobody ever thinks about pears. In fact, most people think pears are going to be a cold weather plant. But I'm here to tell you that there are several varieties that we carry that are going to flower heavy like this, and they are also going to fruit. And man, do they put on the blooms. They put on the blossoms. You can see how many flowers are on each set here too. So let me back up so you can see this one. This is a smaller tree. This is one that I put in last year. And this happens to be a Southern King pear. But there are several varieties that work really, really, really well here. And I have quite a few pears in the ground because this is one, like I said, that people don't believe that works here until they kind of actually see it in practice. So that is the last one on my list, guys, is number 10, and that's going to be pear trees. So you definitely want to get out there and get yourself some fruit trees, because not only are they going to provide the fruit for you, but they're going to provide the beauty. And come on, ladies, come on, we got to get you involved here, because it's not just us guys out here planting these trees. Let's get some girls out here and enjoy this beauty, although I enjoy them. And I'm a guy, so I love flowers. But yeah, there's just nothing like having something like these in the yard. And like I said, guys, these are all tier 1 trees. These are all trees that anyone can start with here in Arizona and get yourself some fruit. And very quickly, most of these fruit trees that I went over today are 3 years till fruit, which is pretty exceptional because most of the other fruit trees are around 5. So this is one that will provide fruit for you a lot quicker than others, are these tier 1 fruit trees that I have gone over today. So make your list of these 10. Make sure you have at least one of each of these 10, and you will enjoy the beauty of your yard and the fruit for yourself. All right, guys, that is it. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and hit that like button down below and leave some comments. Even though I don't answer all comments, I do read them. So I do like to have a little bit of you guys' input on what you might like to have in your yard or see in a future video. All right, guys, that is it for today. Thank you for watching.